Well, here we are with the 1983 ATC 200X. It's going to be a little different video. I'm not really working on it. It does currently run. I actually drove it in. I know all the tires are flat, which I'm surprised this one was, but it definitely is. Actually, that one's got some wind in it, and that one doesn't. But what I'm going to do to this thing is hopefully rebuild it. I figure since the 50 R's down and I'm waiting on parts coming from Canada for this guy, why not work on something I want to mess with? I think my current plan is to need to replace the master. I need to put the front brake back on it. I have a new rear brake because these have never worked, and I've had this thing for maybe, it's a nut. It's a good one. It's a lock nut. Never been used. Nylock, actually. Rear brakes on this thing have never worked. My shop foreman wonders why I'm not working on stuff. And new chain, little stuff like that. Maybe see where my gear ratio is at, because I have no idea on that either. This is actually the second engine I put in this. The first one I decided to go be an idiot, and I was just going down a road wide open, and it dropped a valve. And we were concerned about the integrity of the lower end and how it could have potentially affected the crank bearings. So, crank or rod bearings. So then after that happened, we decided it's just going to be probably best. Before COVID trike prices happened, it was better in my eyes to buy an entire engine. And when I bought this engine, I had 120 pounds of compression, which is not a lot. So it was getting close to needing a rebuild about, I've had this thing for a while, at least 5 years ago. So I think I dropped the valve within my first year or two of having it. So it was needing a rebuild then, and this thing's been raced multiple times in hair scrambles, just generally abused and not maintained the greatest. When I got this, I remember the plastics were actually in very good shape. Middle of winter, I was running around and a stick caught that and just ripped all that off. This part was still all good, and the clutch lever was still good at that point in time until I was at a hair scramble and I rolled it down a hill. And in normal first-gen 200X fashion, the rear wheel bearings that had been replaced probably 5 times need replaced. I know these rims that are on it were originally on that guy when I started racing. The rims themselves are junk. I bought some of them cheap wheel spacers that were just like a nut or a bolt and it comes off. That ruined those. That's why now everything has good wheel spacers that I put on it. Or I'm learning kart axles, so. I know the 200 or 350X headlight on here isn't the greatest, which I'm fine with. Front end of this trike's pretty solid. I know I've rebuilt the front forks. Can't remember when. Can't remember how good they are. Or what all I did to it, if I just changed fluid. Just can't remember. Pretty sure the front wheel bearings were changed when I got the new tire put on. But also, can't remember. Neck bearings seem like they are horrible. So those need replaced. Handlebars have never been right on this thing. Those need replaced. Now to the bread and butter, obviously, of it. Now I want to rebuild the engine. I'd like to get a pipe. Actually, the muffler on this thing looks like a Banzian, but there's a hell of a gap over there. So I don't think that it is correct for this machine. I think it's just one somebody put on. I know I repacked it one time using like insulation foam, I think, which is the redneck cheap way of doing it. Obviously, I've never been one to put much money into these until more lately. Even then, I'm still not putting much money into them. This is one of the ones I actually splurged on a little bit more with the rear axle and everything, and it had electrical issues on its second race ever. And this one, once it proved it wasn't a complete pile, even though it looks like now, it got powder coated, whole 9 yards. Every nut, bolt, everything on this thing, the engine's all been removed, looked at, inspected, redone. So now we're on back to the old workhorse. The original race 3-wheeler I had. That's what got me into all this. don't think this thing ever did anything noteworthy. Got second in a hare scramble. Probably its best finish. Or no, got third in a hare scramble. I'm sorry. Not second. Third. Probably its best finish in any race. But it's a 200X. They run forever. That's what I'm still thinking. Pipe. Probably a muff. I'd like to probably stay with whatever bore it's at. Obviously get it honed or bored, whichever it needs. But then go to a 10.25 to 1 compression piston versus the stock worn out one that's in it. I might look into head work. However, I'm going to probably start asking some questions on some forums and be like, hey guys, what is the most cost-effective way of doing this? Because I've never messed with a 200X. These air foolers, for the most part, it's been done, it's been tried. I'm one of the only ones that runs a custom craft top end. I don't know of one other guy that ever has. He had issues from the start. Mine's been decent. I think it needs ported pretty horribly, to be honest. I was looking at this weekend, and that's a whole different video. We'll get into that when I compare it to a Honda Line 300 kit. I'll be doing that whenever I get it back from the machine shop, which could be a while. However, though, the 200X definitely is in need of some love. Like I said, it needs something front to rear, probably front wheel bearings, neck bearings, engine rebuild. Carb's probably never been jetted correctly. It has a hell of a backfire once you let off it after revving it at the moon. Dogecoin that and let her off and she'll pop. And rear brakes have never worked. Rear wheel bearings need replaced. To my knowledge, the rear master does pump fluid. And I bought a new rear caliper because I thought this one was going to be going already. And I was like, oh, I'll use front brakes on that. But now I have front brakes to put on here. And I was going to see if the rear brakes would match with the front brakes. If they are interchangeable or I just need the bracket, I'll go ahead and make a bracket. That's no big deal in my eyes. Because the 200X brakes are... No, those are the brakes off of this. So 200X brakes are over on the grill. And the brand new one's still in the house, I think. I don't really remember. But, so yeah, if you want to see 200X content, here we go. Obviously, I'd love to get plastics for this thing, but I'm probably going to treat it just like these other three-wheelers. I don't really make them look good until they've proved themselves to me. This will be the next one I'm probably going to make look good. I would like to powder coat it and stuff like that, but... that's down the road yet. So, I think that's going to be it probably with the 200X. So yeah, we just got bearings, handlebars, bearings, rebuild, pipe, probably tune the carb, probably check the air filter that hasn't been looked at in probably 5 years. But I lived in town for a year or so there, so part of the reason why it didn't get built or didn't get rode really much. I definitely did check the frame for cracks since these are notorious for having that main neck right there crack. Somewhere in here. I just ran it, so it's kind of warm yet. Somewhere in there is where they're notorious for cracking, so I definitely need to check that. Probably even around the motor mount as well, but yeah, we'll see. To my knowledge, all the electronics always worked on it. I remember it took me a while to figure out how to wire up this 350X headlight, but we got her. And, yeah, I need to drive around more, though, too, before, I get to the rebuild state. Because I know the kicker gear isn't the hottest. And I don't remember how good or bad third gear is. To my knowledge, third gear had no issues, but the kicker does give me some issues, which that is a common thing with these. And people at least do make parts for it. So, I can figure something out there as well. Repainted the tank 3 or 4 years ago, but you can't really tell it anymore. It's so stained. It looks good in the camera, though. Damn. Yeah, but when you get up close to it, it's like it's dingy. And maybe some of that would wash out. I don't know. I did a really cheap paint job on it. But, yeah, I think this might be the next one. I'll dress it up, clean it up, make it run like a cougar on cocaine, I guess. I'll probably leave the grab bar. That's just butt ugly. I don't know what ever happened there. That was before me. I think it's even welded on. Yeah, it is. I thought about that. I forgot about that. But yeah, I think the rear suspension was also getting bad as well. But you'll have that on these big jobs. So I'm going to quit yapping and catch you on the next one.